You are on a deal. The target is a German company paying annual management fees to its Indian subsidiary. The subsidiary wants to know whether to withhold. Germany treaty, 10%, done. Stop right there. So, you've got to ask, why stop? What's the big deal? Well, it all comes down to a fundamental statutory rule we call act first. And I want to be really clear about this. This is not a style preference. It's not just a good idea. This is built right into the statute. And here it is. From Section 159(4), the taxpayer may apply the act or the treaty, whichever is more beneficial. That little phrase, more beneficial, has a very specific logic. You cannot compare without testing both. And in terms of order of operations, you cannot test the treaty before testing the act, because if the act does not charge, the treaty cannot help. Okay, so that's the principle. What does it actually look like in practice? It's what we call the correct two-step flow. This is the disciplined process you absolutely need for cross-border payments.
Here it is. Step 1 is your act analysis. You ask, does Section 9 charge? Now, if the answer is no, you see the path here. You stop. It's a clean file, no withholding, and the treaty is not needed. But if the answer is yes, then and only then do you go to Step 2, the treaty analysis, and ask, does the DTAA reduce it?
Now, you might be thinking, what's the harm in jumping ahead? Well, let's talk about the real cost of skipping Step 1. We're going to look at 3 very costly mistakes. First up, error 1, over-withholding on a Section 9 carve-out. So, FDS is paid for an overseas business which has a carve-out, but withholding is applied anyway. What happens? The vendor adds a gross-up clause at renewal. The consequence? The cost is real money. Error 2, you withhold 20% on FTS that is not FTS under the Act. You have a routine back-office service that gets mischaracterized as FTS. So 20% is withheld when the correct amount is actually 0%. The difference? 20 points per rupee remitted. And error 3, withholding on a pure reimbursement. You see, there's no income element in a pass-through reimbursement, so Section 9 never charges. But skipping the Act analysis equals withholding or none is owed. So avoiding those mistakes means getting it right on paper from the start. Let's look at what the correct analysis looks like on a real memo. It starts with the Act, like this. Under Section 9(7) of the IT Act 2025, the payment is deemed to accrue or arise in India because the payer is an Indian resident and the services were utilized for its Indian business. The resident payer carve-out under Section 9(7)(a) II does not apply. The payment is chargeable. See? Only after you've established that do you move to the treaty. Under the India-Germany DTAA, the payment may qualify as business income under Article 7 if the make available restriction under the FTS article is not satisfied. That analysis follows. And, of course, in the other scenario where the Act does not charge, that is a complete, clean answer. You write, the payment is not chargeable under Section 9 because, analysis, treaty analysis is not required. No withholding obligation arises. All right, let's wrap this up by recapping the key principles. These are the core checkpoints you should build right into your practice. Here's the treaty checkpoint. Treaty analysis begins only where the Act charges. Once chargeability is established, the applicable DTRA may reduce the rate or change the character of the income. Section 159(4) permits applying the more beneficial position. And here's a quick section snapshot to lock it in. Section 9, that's the domestic source rule. You read it before any treaty. And Section 159(4). This is the more beneficial of Act treaty rule. It's the structural reason for that Act first discipline. And remember this final point, many files end here. That is not a short answer. That is the right answer.